Okay, great. Okay, she hasn't said any. The recording is not
No,
progressed.
but it is recording.
But it is recording. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so I would just do a little bit of an introduction
go for it.
before I introduce you, Sam. So, my name is Alice Bowmaker, and I've set up this podcast because I have been on my own journey through my experience of my body and healing my relationship with my body. And I started with the kind of physical element as a dancer, just really kind of valuing my body on just what it looked like and what it could do physically. And my healing journey through anorexia took me to really have to go inwards and to start to look at what was going on inside my body. And through the evolution, I found yoga and energy healing and all these kind of amazing things through my travels. And so I developed this awareness and this curiosity of how important it is for us, particularly as women, because our bodies have been valued on an aesthetic, from an aesthetic place, how important it is to know our bodies to be so much more than what we look like. And that our bodies, if we look into like ancient texts and what women used to do in a long time ago, it was all about their body being a portal of transformation, and there's so much power that lives within us that can then radiate to our external body. So it basically starts with soul energy deep. And then I, as a personal trainer, I kind of incorporate that into the work I do with my clients. So I work with them developing their bodies physically, but then also we look at meditation and breath work, looking at kind of the energetic blocks that happen within them. And I do obviously a lot of research and have a lot of amazing friends such as Sam, who are also looking into health and wellness. And so my idea is that the future of fitness is not just the workout, it's not just yoga, but it's combining ancient and modern practices, and so that we can all feel kind of our most fulfilling and radiant and empowered and whole selves. I got the title in there. And so I'm bringing on a different person each week to discuss their journey with their body, their kind of unique tools and techniques they use. And I perceive these people to be the kind of part of the future of fitness. And so I want to bring it all together. So we're just going to introduce Sam now. Sam is currently in Thailand at the moment, and she is working with JP, doing amazing things to do with wellness and fitness on a really kind of, I don't know, it's like a deep level. It's like serious stuff they're doing over there. And Sam is a Pilates teacher, but also works with nutrition and wellness on an energetic level. But I think Sam could probably describe it a lot better than me. She's been on an amazing journey around the world, kind of taking herself out of her comfort zone in the UK to go all the way over to Mexico and basically take a massive gamble and follow her dreams. And it's all paying off nicely now. And me and Sam always find that we have like a really nice synergy in our kind of little moments of evolution and awareness. And we're like, yeah, I just felt that too. And yeah, it's just really nice to have you here to hear your kind of your journey. Let's just kind of softly introduce you, and maybe if there's anything that you want to share about
Okay.
yourself and like who you would say you are, maybe where you are.
Thank you so much, Alice. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me on. And I love everything you just said. We do have so much synergy between us. But I think we came to our fitness awareness in similar but then different routes in terms of how we viewed our bodies, or how I viewed my body when I was younger. But I certainly didn't turn to fitness and the physical side of things to sort of resolve that. I kind of went a very different path, and now I'm coming to the physical fitness side of it. So it's really, really interesting. Where I'm at now is I'm in Thailand, and I'm working with Jean-Pierre de Villiers, who has been my coach, mentor, and friend for about 3 years. And now I've just joined his team, and I'm busy working away in Thailand after a crazy, amazing nearly a year and a half in Mexico on a deep healing journey, working within natural health and deep tissue therapy for trauma release and all of those sorts of things. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. It is really amazing what I'm doing, but it's not always serious. Although it looks quite serious at the moment because I'm here getting foundations in place, but it's not always serious. But it is amazingly impactful on people's lives. So I'm super excited about that.
So are you going to be running retreats with him eventually? Is that what the systems are?
Yeah, so we have a program called Live 100, which is a mastermind, which is like the signature program. And the people within the mastermind, we run 3 retreats a year, which is included in that mastermind. So there's one retreat in Thailand where we're based, and that's on the sort of spiritual fitness side of things, I guess. And then in Dubai, it's more of like high performance. And then the UK is more connecting with nature but all including high performance. It's a high performance mental performance coach with a real strong fitness side to what he does as an athlete, but also when I found him was like about 3 years ago. He had an accident and then went on a spiritual journey, which is what sort of drew me towards his work, actually. So before that, I probably wouldn't have been that interested. So the work that I've done the last year has sort of brought me to a place of more self trust and awareness and confidence. We have very similar values in certain aspects and areas. And so I'm bringing the feminine into JPDV. I guess that's what's happening. Yeah. So that's kind of how I've got there in a nutshell.
And what type of people would you be working with then?
We have a variety. It's like CEOs, business people that really want to up their game and take themselves to the next level, but also find balance in all areas of their life. So you find often that people that are really successful in their business life are maybe lacking in other areas or neglecting other areas. So we sort of bring that together. But we've also got, it's really a variety. We have a retired woman who is like, right, I'm retired and recently has come out of a relationship, so she's now single. She's like, I want to revolutionize my life and live it, and she's just like doing incredibly well with that. We have someone else who's a coach, who was a yoga teacher, which is lovely for me, who is starting up her own coaching business. So it's not all high-powered masculine, if you like. There is a balance within there, but it really is people that just want to refine and up their game but find that balance to be the best in all areas is what I'm sort of seeing.
Yeah, amazing. And are you at the moment working with people yourself, like with your own business, or are you focused only on the work with JP?
I'm focused with JP at the moment, but he's such a cool guy. He wants me to also do my own stuff as well and make sure that I don't lose my joy and my bliss. So I will be still continuing to work with my own clients going forward in a more sort of like natural health role. The stuff that doesn't quite fit into JPDV, I will continue to do here, but I'm also going to bring in all of the natural health stuff and weave that in somehow and create programs within Live 100. And we've also got OTE, which is Ordinary to Extraordinary. It's like an online 12-week program. And I'm going to be bringing bits and pieces into that as well to sort of enhance the programs. So it's exciting.
Yeah. It's so exciting. And I just really feel inspired by your commitment and your just like putting your full self into this, this experience and what you want to make sure that it kind of, I guess your soul is feeling fulfilled as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting actually, because this is like an operations role at the moment. I've come in to sort of really get foundations and systems in place. And anyone that knows me from the last like 5 years as a Pilates teacher and natural health will be like, what? How's that working? What? But it's drawing on all of my skills. So my previous business before that, I had my own florist business in London, which I ran for 12 years, which has its own story that goes with it. But I did all of this in that business and started it from scratch and made it really successful.
Yeah.
But I left that behind when things, for me, when I basically had a bit of a breakdown in 2012 through the stress of that business and everything that came with it. So I really just sort of let that kind of that side of me go, and then really focus on the spiritual journey, the recovery from that, the healing. And now I just feel like this is like an amazing opportunity to actually pull everything together in one place and express all of me rather than just parts, you know. But it's taken a lot to get there. There's a lot of healing involved from that previous business as well as other stuff. So I've been in yin for a really long time.
Yes,
I've been bombing my way through life.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's so, like, the business side of stuff, and also London and this kind of city life is very masculine. It's very being in the productive space, and kind of, even if you're trying to be more in your feminine, which feminine we mean not always pushing forward, but resting, living more cyclically. In the yin space, which is to pause and be in the darkness and intuitive space. In London, you feel that masculine energy. You feel, if I'm not doing more, I feel bad about it, you know. You know, you feel like you're failing in some sense, which I've definitely felt from being in London quite a lot. So it's interesting now. You've been in a very feminine space in Mexico. We discussed
very
in that. And then actually it's important to find that balance. And this is all to do with fitness. It should be about finding that balance between your feminine and your masculine, the yin and the yang. That would be a really important. So now you're kind of finding your way back with the very masculine energy.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. So I'm having to bring out my yang, and it's felt really uncomfortable. And actually, before this move came up, I was working on that and starting to move into a more sort of like physical fitness, like little challenges and stuff when I was up in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. And it was uncomfortable. And now I find myself in a very masculine environment here in Thailand. Like, the team is all guys, right? So, and they're all awesome, but they are masculine. So, and I first got, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so different. I've been surrounded by goddesses in and just all floaty and all lovely and natural healing and very esoteric stuff. And now I'm full in the matrix and in the sort of like, right, let's go. And it felt really, really interesting. And I had a bit of a wobble, and it lasted for 3 hours. So the timing of the wobbles has decreased massively. And I had to reach out to my girlfriends and just reach in and say, well, how do I work this? And my thoughts were, what I came to is, I've absolutely got this. I'm here for a reason. And actually, I'm just going to have to bring a bit more feminine. I'm just going to have to step into the feminine more within the masculine environment and not dim my light and not shy away from that. So it's an interesting ride. But I am now on the hunt for chanting circles, sound healing, and all the lovely stuff, which I will now do in my spare time, which actually feels really nice as well. So and I found a few places. I just need to get to them.
And maybe I just came to me also, maybe to also make a bit more to find a bit of peace with that masculine energy again, because the last time you perhaps experienced that strong masculine energy in yourself, it burnt you out. So there's natural that you would feel that you don't, but perhaps this is a way to kind of reintroduce it into your life in a healthy way.
Yeah, very much so, honey. That's so what it feels like. And it's been a considered decision to step into this. Like, I've had to do so. June is one of my alter egos, who was the boss at Storm Flowers, right? So she was and I have to like rein her in every now and then when she gets a little bit hyper focused and a little bit like, right, let's go. And I'm like, no, come on, darling, we need to have a little sit down, a little chant. Let's just think about this. So I really like working with archetypes and stuff, and I did a lot of work with that kind of side of things. So like so now I know them. And then there's quite a few of them. So June like rears up every now and then, and she wants to get everything done straight away, and we have to have a a little chat. So, but it was like a really considered decision to come back into it. And the healing that I've done and the journey I've been on in Mexico took me to a real deep place of forgiveness of that masculine element that
So
I blamed for taking me to that. So
So now you're ready to welcome that masculine energy into your life, whether in relationships as well as in your work.
Yeah, totally.
And that's really interesting. I hadn't thought we would get into this kind of importance of masculine and feminine energy, because it is when something happens to us, we tend to then run away from it and like demonize it. But there's always like a shadow and a light side to each element. So there's a shadow and a light to the feminine energy, shadow and light to the masculine. And basically for wholeness, we need both, really, don't we? We also need the shadow and the light of the masculine. We need the shadow and light of the feminine. We need all of it, don't we?
You can't. Yeah, go on. Sorry, darling.
Well, it brings me into my question, or what you were talking about a healing journey that you've been on, which some people might feel like just looks like, doing lots of yoga and meditation and energy work, but actually perhaps you could, because healing is a big part of I think the future of fitness, learning, going on your own healing journey, understand really what it is, and incorporating that, not just the physical healing, but emotional and mental and energetic healing. So healing is hard. And we've said sometimes, like, when we're like, oh, I don't want to do any healing from now. I'm like, I've done enough. Like, let me just enjoy the real world, and and then when the right time is to kind of go back in. So how would you describe healing in a sense? Like,
oh my goodness, it depends where you are on that.
Okay.
In terms of, and it's different for everyone, right?
So for you, like at a certain point of your healing, what would you have had to go through?
There are times where, like what you say, you kind of think you're done with it, right? So my healing journey, I would say, really started when I started to become when I was training to be a Pilates teacher. So up until that point, I'd done Pilates. It really helped me with my physical pain. That was the thing, that it helped me with my lower back issues and all sorts of bits and pieces, and kept fixing me when I would break through the work that I was doing. So I'd go back to it, fix myself through Pilates, crack on with floristry. Oh, the back's gone again. Right, let's go back. So backwards and forwards, but very masculine, powering through. I'm using it to make me continue, not to heal the inside. I had no idea what was going to happen. And then that breakdown happened. I decided to sell my business and become a Pilates teacher. And it's when I actually slowed down, like what we were talking about earlier, and started to breathe and connect body and mind, is when the real unraveling and healing started. I had no idea this was going to happen. I thought I was just going to learn how to do Pilates and help people solve their back issues. It's kind of it. So it started there, I would say, where I kind of really realized something was changing and shifting. And then I kind of went into all different modalities and practices, and I've got like a list of things that I've done. And I can't pinpoint one thing. I was chatting to someone the other day, and he said he's now prioritizing healing. Like, he's not and healing and fun. He's not prioritizing work anymore. He's he's working around work to make sure he gets the healing in. And I think when you get to that point where it's not just a random workshop once every 6 months, when you're like, no, actually I need to do certain things, and there's certain things that I want to address within, that feels like that could be the beginning of the deep healing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And what are the practices that you did, if you can remember?
I've got a little list, babe. So I know this question comes up, and you can't pinpoint one, because each is a layering of the next.
Definitely.
And you could be in a sound healing, and something could come up from a previous I don't know, ecstatic dance a month ago. Like it isn't. But so I've just kind of done a little of this. So I'll just reel through it. Pilates, breath, meditation. And off of these, I've just done little like lines, because they're within that breath work. There's a multitude of different breath works. Meditation, the same. Mindfulness. Actually, do you know, the Buddhist mindfulness course that I did in North London, which is a 12-week course where I went every week, that was quite a pivotal change. That took me to a level of patience with myself that was very blooming uncomfortable. So there are kind of things that will stand out that were quite pivotal, but it wouldn't have happened without all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yoga, sound healing, plant medicine, personal development courses and workshops, community groups. This was another big thing, like joining different communities and finding expression through that. So I joined a choir and I sung in public for the first time. That was massive for my throat chakra and to help me unblock all of that. Dancing without alcohol, going to like sober raves, like in the morning, all glittered up, pivotal in self-expression. Changing my environment was key on like I moved a lot. Yeah. Anyone that knows me knows that I was literally moving a lot. Reading, coaching programs. Another thing that was really cool is becoming vegan and learning how to cook vegan food and spending more time in the kitchen and getting into a meditative state. Like I find chopping vegetables really relaxing. Developing new friendships and actually diving deeper into those friendships by going to like women's circle. We've sat in circle before and done cards, and it's spending that kind of time where you're there for nothing else other than to explore and investigate yourself and others. It's just like, it's really interesting. Also letting go of friendships when things, and it being able to expand in that way and learning how to do that. And exploring that. Healing retreats, trauma release, shamanic journeying. It's a plethora. That was just, that's the end of my list, but there is more.
I love that you've written the list as well.
I just had to, otherwise I knew I would go blank because there's so much, right?
So for me, that sounds like, and this is what I've heard from other people, and I would say myself, healing is like it's like a curious adventure journey. It's definitely if somebody says, we've said this before, I've said this before, like no one retreat is gonna change your life. When people say that, it's like, it's not true. And that's why I could never write it on my own, because it is, and it also has to be your tailored, unique kind of what you draw in. So all the stuff you would have been drawn to. So obviously trusting that intuition of, oh, I want to try that. Oh, I need to try that. And that's, I think, is a really big, there's no one size fits all for healing journey.
There really isn't. And you've just hit on a really key point. It's trust your intuition and listen. So I've been talking a lot, like when people say, oh, how have you? I was like, I listened to the whispers and I followed my soul. That's basically what I've been doing.
And you can only just do that by trial and error. You just
exactly. And if you don't like something, you don't have to go again. Although I do like to try everything twice, just in case I missed something. It's just like,
and the thing is, like with yoga, when people say yoga practice, it's because it's a practice. Like you're practicing. You don't go to, say, a yoga class and this is old dimensional paradigm programming, is that you go and you're done. Like you go to yoga and you do the show and you're perfect, and it's not about that.
It's so not perfect either.
And if you go to those things as a place of being an experimenter, being like an adventurer, full of curiosity, you're always going to learn and listen, and your whole perspective of it changes completely.
And wanting to learn and being open to that, and also like, so years of perfectionism, and it's still there, and it's coming in really handy with certain parts of the business that I'm doing now, but I'm utilizing it in a really good way, and not, so it's not detrimental to my well-being. But you know, what I really like about yoga now is if I'm in a bounce and I fall over, I find it hilarious. It really doesn't matter. As a teacher and a student, right? It's like whatever. But before that, that would have been difficult for me to not get and I wouldn't have gone because I wasn't able to do it. So there was a
Yeah.
whole like, I've got to be perfect, I can't fail, all of those societal things that are laid on us. And the other thing I would say about yoga is like the first yoga class I went to, I remember it was way before Pilates, and it really hurt my back. It was like whatever style it was too stretched, it was too much. And I decided in that I don't like yoga, I can't do it. That was it, because I've been to one bloody class, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many different forms of yoga as we now know. But what Pilates did was build me from the inside. So it's a different practice to yoga. And then once I had that core structure in place and my back issues were improved, I then went back to yoga and I was able to really enjoy it and find all the different aspects of yoga, because it's not just asana, it's not just those poses.
No.
It's everything that goes with it.
Yeah.
But until I'd found breath work through Pilates, there was no way I was going to be able to go anywhere near yoga. So it's like, what's your way in? What's your least resistant way in, and go find that.
Everybody's is going to be different. We're all different. Everybody's journey is going to be just different.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't. I had to learn as a thing as I've got older is to not compare myself with other people, because there's just no point. I mean, it's a thing again that's been programmed into us as a marketing technique. But we have to, I guess, create a stronger sense of self to be able to not just go into all those programs. So
absolutely,
listening to you talk about like the journey, it kind of makes me think about healing as being also a way of like bumping against all your resistance and all of your it'll always be the thing that you really don't want to do. Like when you do a yoga class, the thing that you really don't want to do is the thing that you really need. The
thing that's gonna give you the shift.
And it always surprises you, because you can the thing that you like give somebody advice on, just speak up for yourself. For me, that's easy, but for that person, that's the one thing they really cannot do.
Yeah. So, and it's the one thing that we have to do,
that we have
break
to do
through that. Yeah, it's so super interesting. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So healing journey, in terms of it being difficult, it's very bespoke and it's longer than you think. Probably
it's kind of never ending, darling.
But it's going into those uncomfortable places and knowing the difference between the uncomfortable places, which is in your stretch zone, and when it's in trauma zone where it's too much for you.
Absolutely. And
it's different.
I think that's what you gain by trial and error, is you learn your stretch zone.
Yes.
And then once you've kind of but you have to be present with your body to maintain that awareness of your stretch zone. If you go out into like really whatever your triggers are and busyness and you're not giving yourself enough like self-care time and all the rest of it, I then find I will end up in a trauma zone without realizing, because I haven't had an awareness and I've not been listening to my body, which happens less and less these days. It's more my nature to read my body these days, because I've done it for so long now.
Yeah.
But if you go in
trauma zone is like, well, so if we think of it in terms of the body, stretch zone is when you can say you're doing a yoga stretch and you gain benefits because it's the right amount. Body. And then trauma zone is when you injure yourself because you've pushed your body too far.
Exactly. And something's pinged.
Yes. And before you know how to guide yourself that bit further, before you know how to breathe a bit further, or you don't have the tools basically to support.
No. And actually part of learning is pushing yourself that little bit too far to see where it is, to know how it feels in your body. And I would say the time that I stretched probably the furthest in the most uncomfortable way was my first plant medicine ayahuasca ceremony. Took me I potentially wasn't ready. It's not something I would advise anyone do unless you're really called to it. I had to walk in the woods every day for 3 months just to come back to some form of reality. That was a big overstretch
Yeah.
potentially. Did it catapult me forwards in my healing journey? Yes, 100%.
It's
But it
risky.
it was a rocky ride,
Yeah.
right? So, but I am naturally an adventurer.
Mhm.
So that kind of, I do that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
if that's not the way that you operate, then just take it a little bit easier on yourself and learn that it's actually fine to. And part of that was me just stopping and staying still afterwards. It was such
Yeah.
a blessing,
Yeah.
right? But it didn't feel very comfortable at the time.
No, but the thing is, we're always like, we can never really do anything, there's never a wrong thing, is it?
It's never wrong.
Because we're
That's the
always
other thing, to
we're always going
just,
to learn the lesson.
yeah, and you're going to get there. It's not going to be a direct route. You
No.
can't go, right, I'm here and I'm going to go there. It's proper wiggly all the way through. And sometimes there's some spirals. Like, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But this is cool because I think we're like unpacking a really complex kind of question for somebody who's like on the beginning of maybe knowing that they don't want to live the way they live now, and like
Yeah.
how do I get deeper? It is, hopefully this is going to help to kind of give you a bit of an insight of what it's been like to go through a long
Yeah.
healing and what it really means on a deeper scale. So to go into the questions that I gave you because you wanted me to prepare.
Bless you. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. There's a little misorganizational over here.
So what's one of the most important pieces of wisdom you've learned about taking care of your health?
So this really ties into what we were just saying.
Yeah.
And like literally what I've kind of come to is I've got a little list, bear with me. No one is coming to rescue me. No one's doing it.
Yeah.
No one can do it for me. However, on the at the same time, and this is something actually that JP says, and I love this quote. I'm not sure if it's his or from someone else. If you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. But at the same time, no one's going to do it for you. So there's a balance within that. So then how do you achieve that? Well, for me, it was one of the biggest lessons was who you want to support you, who you think is going to be able to support you, probably won't, because you're changing at such a dramatic rate that might not be able to happen. So go out and surround yourself with the people who have already done what you want to do, are looking for similar results, and have experience in what you're going through. That's generally not your friend circle, generally.
Especially
Right?
at the beginning point of,
At the beginning
yeah.
point. And then although, do you know what? I feel so blessed because I do have a lovely friend circle that have been with me all the way through. And many people don't have that at all. And I really saw that in Mexico. I was like, I've got maybe like 5 people in my life that have been with me throughout all of the changes, maybe three to 5, I would say. So I'm super blessed with that. And meeting people in Mexico, they literally had no one. They'd come there by themselves. Their family and friends were just like, you're crazy. And they had no support. So they came to Mexico to be with a group of people. They did that exact thing. Surround yourself with the people that are on a similar, go find the people because they're not necessarily going to be around. So that was that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. That's all I've got for that one. Yeah.
It's amazing. I think that's so, for me, learning that I'm the only one that was like a massive like maturity thing as well,
Yeah.
of not being in my inner child of save me everybody else, it's everybody else's fault. And
Yeah.
when I started to do that, oh my God, how much did I change? Like,
yes, massive.
My perception of the world changed completely. And then also, I think it's so interesting to be able to hold two completely opposite things inside your head is quite difficult. But to take that responsibility for yourself, and then, like you said, have people around as well. But it's not their responsibility to fix you, but let them just, hold you a little bit.
hold you a little bit, witness what you're going through. That to me is super powerful. And there's no judgment. It's just witnessing. That term holding space is slightly overused, but it's very relevant.
Yeah.
I can't remember where we were. I remember a call we were all on, you, myself, Marie, and maybe there was someone else. And we were chatting. We were having a bit of a chat, catch-up circle, but online. And something triggered me. And I went off the kitchen and I got chocolates. And I remember this so clearly. You went, you've just self-soothed with those chocolates. And I went, you're totally right. And I'm going to continue.
Yes, I remember that. And it was so good to be conscious and be like, okay, I am doing this anyway. And I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And to be seen and not judged within that.
Yeah.
And know that the other person who's saying that has experienced that. That's how they're able to see it in you, right?
Exactly.
And that's what I mean about being around the people that are walking a path. It's not the same path, but it's a path with similarities and common ground. And
it's really important to be seen actually in that, because family in particular are amazing for support and things like that, but it's a different thing that you get from your family and perhaps older friends. It's still necessary and important, but it's just different. It's kind of
it's really different. I'm blessed with family and friends, but there's a difference between that family and then soul family, which I really feel is the other aspect of when you're going through a healing journey, if that's what we want to call it, is that you connect with soul family for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do another question. I feel like you should have one of those things that you pick out of a hat. That would freak you out, wouldn't it?
It would freak me out a little bit, yeah.
I might do that another time.
Although I think it would be a good balance.
Yeah. Stretch zone. So, okay. Who was the most important teacher for you along your health journey? That would be a different question, thing for me to answer.
I laughed at this and I was like, there's no way I can tell you one person.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I wrote. The most important teacher is my body.
Yes.
Right?
Correct answer.
Thank you very much. Which I have now. Like, I have the connection with my body through all of the practices and protocols that I've done. So, because I've learned to listen. So I have got so many amazing, incredible beings that have come into my life and taught me so many deep things. And I kind of reflect, I was like, I'd really love to speak about all of them. I'm just going to have to do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because they all brought some magic along the way. But learning that the body speaks to me, or my body speaks to me, and learning to listen to it, like, it's literally our biggest teacher. And if you don't listen to the whispers, it's going to scream at you and put you right on your ass. So and that's, the thing is, for me, has been
a lot of the time I find people who are ill and have eating disorders, I've had experience myself, problems in the body, it's because we're living from the head. We're telling our body from, living from the guidance just of the head. And rather than, when you start to have a daily practice, which is just as simple as connecting to your body, feeling yourself in your body, breathing, moving. This is what I found with clients. If you start to do this over a period of time, accumulatively, that connection between you and your body is a strong connection, so that you naturally start to feel when you need to move. You naturally start to feel when you've had too much food, or you don't need to do all of the top-down kind of controlling. Your body guides you, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And what you just said there about top-down controlling is, like, I've not really thought about it in that term before, but that is really interesting, because it's the brain, heart, gut connection. And we are so in our brain, especially Western culture, like, we are literally, and we're obsessed with controlling everything. So part of the slowing down and is letting go of that control and it's scary. It's really scary to do that and let our bodies guide us, body and heart. Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, and the going back to the masculine, feminine is the masculine. Typically, is the head, is the thinking brain, is the mental side, and then the feminine is the body.
Yeah,
So it makes sense why we're in this way, because our whole society is very masculine dominant in kind of this the Western culture. So we're literally going against the grain when we
totally
not to do it. So it will feel scary and not right and not familiar because it is different. It's unfamiliar.
It's really different. And also, like, in our society, that's what we want to call it, it's like the rational mind is really seen, and IQ and how clever you are in your brain is given a lot of weight. And those of us that then go down the more intuitive, feeling our way through it, are seen as a bit airy fairy and wishy-washy and woo-woo. But that, when you look at different cultures, they're really heavy on their intuition. So it is very much a cultural thing, and learning how to deprogram ourselves from that and experience what the body can give us and tell us. It's all experiential, but you have to give yourself time for that.
It is experiential. Exactly. Even just these words are they're just words to people unless you have the experience for yourself. So that's why it's important, I thought, to have a few practical things for people to go away and do by themselves, so that they can have that experience that we're describing physically.
And allow yourself the experience. There is no end goal. That was one of the biggest things for me, especially for yoga practice and the mindfulness that drove my mind insane, but it was fabulous. There doesn't have to be an end goal. It's the actual present moment that you're there for, whatever that is. Takes me back to my first spiritual retreat, actually in Thailand 5 years ago on Koh Samui. I had the angriest yoga session of my life. I was swearing my head off at all sorts of stuff, and it was like awful, but I went through it and I felt amazing afterwards. So I just allowed myself to be angry. I didn't care what anyone else was doing. I was literally like swearing at my body, but it was releasing stuff, and I think it's allowing yourself to release, and which is why I love ecstatic dance and all that sort of thing. You can just let that shit go. It's awesome.
It's so interesting now that when you become more comfortable with your own emotions, because we have emotions for a reason, there's no bad emotions. Since, I don't know if you found this, but since I've become more comfortable with them within myself, I am more comfortable with them with my clients. So if they show up, and as long as they're not calling me, shouting at me, but if they're expressing emotion or frustration or anger, I used to be like, ooh, I need to, or crying. Like I used to be like, I have that. And now I'm like, this is the medicine. This is the place to bring this. Your movement with me, I want it to be medicinal, and I want to bring those emotions out, so I can guide you through letting them go and not keeping them suppressed in your body.
I mean, that's one of the things I love about some of the aspects of the work that I now do. And the same. So learning how to facilitate that for someone and allow their emotion, make them feel safe, that's okay. Even in a class, I've had people break down in a class, and they've just the space that was being created, they've been able to do that. I mean, it is just so beautiful. But we can only do that once we've done it ourselves, because we know we have a knowing of what's to come afterwards. So we're not trying to fix them. We're allowing them to do that for themselves, but in a supported space. And then the deep tissue work that I was training in Mexico, like the releases that people get from that, it's insane what people release. And my work as a Pilates teacher and all the healing and the Reiki and all of those sorts of things set me up to be able to deal with that level of trauma releasing from people, and that allowing, and that it's incredible. But it's just and now there'll be another layer with what I'm doing now. So, and then joining the dots backwards, like how you get to where you are, you don't know until you're there, and then you look back and go, oh, that all joined up.
It's so exciting, isn't it? It's so unique and kind of like just feels really special, I think, once you've brought together all your pieces, because they mean so much to you. They have part of your journey.
And that's something I would say to someone that is just starting out. And I didn't have this evidence really until Mexico and coming through that. But just keep going with whatever it is that your dreams are, or whatever the soul calling is, because you might not even know what they are. I thought I was going to do something very different to what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
But just keep going, one foot in front of the other. Take the baby steps. Take time out when you need to. Sometimes we really need a break from healing, and we just need to be 3D, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Right? Take a break, go and be 3D, and go and do what you need to do, and then gently come back in when you're ready. And at some point, I promise you, it will just drop. You will literally look back and go, there it is. There's the evidence. Now I know that each step forward is leading to something, but I don't need to know what it is.
Yeah. Yes, I feel the same, actually.
It is a really beautiful spot to get to.
Yeah, well, it's a place of trust, isn't it, of your journey?
It's 100% trust, which is what dropped recently for me, back in probably November, December, like full sense of trust in myself. That was the first time I can remember. So,
and you can, when things land, like you can understand stuff mentally. This is going back to that mind and body thing. But then when it lands in your body, it lands so much deeper, and it's like a knowing rather than, I get what you're saying, and then you feel it. And again, that's something that hopefully people experience for themselves, because again, that's something that's really hard to explain.
You have to experience for yourself. Like, we can't give that to someone. But what we can do is share how we've got here as our own unique person, and help support people along the way in whatever way we can. And maybe just sort of, we can suggest, this is all the stuff that I've done. Yeah. There's so much stuff out there. Just go and try it and see what happens.
So what does, because self-love, this is one of my last questions, self-love is used obviously quite a lot, as I know there's a lot of people who are like, people who are just kind of like, I don't get it, like, you're telling me to do this, but I don't get, what are you talking about? So what does self-love mean?
Okay. It's meant many different things, because I've been working with self-love for years, right? In the last year or so in Mexico, we worked with it on a very different level. And this is kind of where I've got to with it, seeing every part of myself and accepting every aspect. So it's all of the darkness, all of the shadow, and the light, like all of my gifts and everything I have to offer. That was dampened down. And now I just celebrate it, because it's awesome, right? And it takes a while to get there. So
can you tell me what shadow means in terms of like actual things that would be shadow things that we would say?
Okay. I'll talk to you about mirror work just briefly. So mirror work is when your self-connection work, you're looking in the mirror at yourself. When I was in Mexico, there was an oath, which I've changed to my own oath. So I am love, I am healed, I am whole. From the moment I rise until I gently close my eyes, I promise to trust, honor, respect, protect, forgive, and totally love myself. First and foremost, before anyone or anything else, because I am whole, I am healed, I am love, and I unconditionally love myself. So that I've changed a few words, and the I am whole came in after my explant of my breast implants. That was a whole thing that happened in Mexico, and that was really when self-love dropped, because I loved all of myself, and not having those implants makes me feel whole. So that came in. And so the shadow is like, so going back to the mirror work, I remember like it was just difficult. Looking at yourself in the mirror was very uncomfortable for me. and seeing myself. And there was one particular day I was like, right, lady, we're doing this, and you're not moving until you see yourself. I was in that mirror for at least 45 minutes. It was excruciating. And I saw every aspect of me, of darkness, and that goes guilt, shame, anger, every possible emotion that you can think of. And I had to really look at the areas where I felt ashamed. And that's deep stuff, the areas where I felt guilt. And I could see it on my face. And my face almost morphed into something I didn't recognize. I felt like I looked really wrinkly and old at one point, and then I felt like my face was like dripping off, and then there was horror in my eyes, and I stood with all of that and sent it love, unconditional love, forgiveness, all of those things, and I witnessed every aspect of myself.
Amazing.
And that is not an easy thing to do.
That's not.
But the result of that is a space of unconditional love. I'm kind of shaky thinking about it because it's just taking me back into it. But then it's not, you can't just do that for one day and then you're done. Right? So then I would revisit that, and it would get easier over time. I don't do mirror work so much now. I don't feel I need it. That's the thing with all of these tools as well. Use them for what you need them for, but then don't get too like, oh, I need to do this every single day. Like, be fluid with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if there's a tool that you find or a practice that you find that's really quite tricky, it's probably the one you need to spend a little bit more time with.
Yeah, exactly.
And do the work.
Yeah.
And you are 100% responsible for you. So
the reason for these is because if you're afraid of something, or resisting something, then you're gonna be moving, your whole day is going to be moving from a place of fear or resistance.
Totally.
But when we kind of make peace with all of it, welcome it all in, sit and look at ourselves and feel the shame, but still kind of hold ourselves in that.
Yeah.
Then we are kind of almost liberated, and we move from a place of love and joy, which is so much more expansive and so much more energizing. The world
my goodness. It really is energizing. You're so right. And also, like, you're not running. You're not kicking off your day running from your shadows and your shit.
Yeah.
Basically, you're starting the day, and then just have a nice little practice in the morning, whatever that looks like for you. And start your day. And if you can, just give yourself 1 minute in the mirror in the morning.
Yeah.
And you can make it fun. All right, darling, how you doing today? You can make it fun. It doesn't have to be that, that deep, intense stuff all the time. Looking good, babe? Let's go. Do you know? It can be that simple. But then listening to your body. If you find yourself going back into some old patterns and some old negative talk in your brain, maybe you need to go and sit with yourself for a little while. Visit your inner children. I call them children. There's plenty of them. It's not just one. But that's the other thing is self-love and self-worth. If you're not worthy, you're not going to spend that time with yourself. You'll be too busy fixing everyone else. So that was a big piece of work for me. Self-love, self-worth.
Yes, because if you are somebody that is always trying to fix other people, both of us, those people as well, because that's why we got into our jobs.
Yeah,
it's probably because you're trying to distract yourself from looking after yourself.
Total avoidance.
Because you probably have somebody's probably somewhere you've created a belief from childhood, from an experience, that you are not worthy of being looked after, or it's safer to look after other people to kind of keep the peace, and then you put your needs to the side. And I was listening to Gabriel Maté this morning, and he was saying typically a lot of women as well, not obviously all women, but more women tend to think it's easier to put everybody else's needs first, because it just makes life easier if we look after our, everybody.
It's easier. Well, on a surface level. There's also a degree of victimhood within that. Martyrdom.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
And then so how is it serving you to do that? What are
Yes.
you receiving? You're receiving thanks, appreciation, you're
Yeah.
receiving something. Like
Yeah.
all these negative things that we do, we are gaining from them in a
Payoff.
way. So significance, like I am significant because I'm helping people.
Yeah.
So how do we come to a place of where we have the appreciation for ourselves and we feel significant without having to get it from somewhere else, like all of that sort of thing? And that is taking full 100% responsibility for ourselves. It kind of comes back to that.
Yes, it always, yeah, it's all interlaced, isn't it? That's why
Mm.
sometimes it's hard to break it apart and kind of describe it because they're all
Yeah, it's like a
woven
web
together. Yeah, exactly.
of interconnected stuff that you can't, is that's what we're going back to. It's not that one thing, it's
Yeah.
all of the elements. And how do you sort of weave your way through that and
Yeah.
get some kind of balance through
And
it?
I would say, like, if people are listening to this or watching this, of listen to one element and that really stands out for them or really feels exciting or interesting, that's probably the signal of something to go and pursue or explore
Definitely.
now, because that's the thing that your body, your intuition is saying, let's look here first. Let's look here next. Because that's how I.
Absolutely. That's definitely where I'm at with that. And also another little tricksy bit that will come up, which has come up for me many times and may come up for others, is there is so much I can't do it.
Yes.
It's just, it's too overwhelming. I can't do any of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, that's just you avoiding your stuff. So have a little chat with yourself about that one and just pick one and have a go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's so interesting. I definitely do that with things like social media and marketing.
Oh, yeah,
It's like, oh, there's
totally.
no point in that.
Totally.
So signature question to round us off, unless there's, and if there's anything else you want to add it, is, what does the future of fitness mean to you?
I haven't wrote any notes on this one. That's really interesting. Okay, so I've avoided like fitness as in the physical fitness. And it's now sort of coming into my life with the masculine, like we were talking about earlier. So I think I'm going to be stepping into it more. And I just want to touch on, like, and this actually leads to all of the work, leads from all the work that I have been doing. I live near the Big Buddha in Phuket. And one of my stretch goals for the next 3 months is to run up the Big Buddha. And so all the guys from Tiger Muay Thai and different people, they run it. They're like athletes, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Anyway, so I walked up this morning, first time with intention. So I power walked up. And I've worked out in the last 3 years that being out of breath is difficult for me. It's not the physical body stuff, it's the being out of breath. And I spoke about this in a live I did in one of my groups earlier. And what it comes down to is certain traumas, and it feels like a panic attack and it feels like I can't breathe and it hurts my chest. So there's certain traumas that have happened throughout my life that have made me go, I just don't like cardio, I'm not doing it. But now I know what they are. I'll touch very briefly on some of them. So as a child, I was held under the blankets. The people that were doing it thought it was fun. It was all kids, but for me, it was quite traumatic and I couldn't breathe. Another thing in terms of like you're looking at ancestral stuff or all those sorts of things, my mum nearly drowned when she was pregnant. I've been through some journeying and some discussions with people that work in that field. And they're like, you've probably got an imprint from that from your mum about not being able to breathe. And there was some other stuff that came up along the way. So, but now, so what the really good thing is now I've got some tangible reasons and things that I can go, right. It's not just because I don't like this, that I can't use that excuse anymore. I have no excuses. I'm going to have to go down the fitness route.
Yeah.
Because I can work through those things. And some stuff came up when I was running earlier and I breathed through it and I kept going and I noticed it. And I had a chat with the inner children and the inner teenager and the inner adult, actually, because it's not just the children, it's every aspect of your life. And I went through that and that was great. So the future of fitness for me is, yes, I'm going to go more yang, more into the masculine fitness side of things. It's the last bit for me. It's the bit I haven't done, with a knowing that I'm going to be clearing trauma from my body through doing it. So it is a spiritual fitness.
Yes.
It's not just a fitness because I want to have a good body. This is a next step on my spiritual journey, but through fitness.
Yes.
Which is super interesting because one of JP's main areas is spiritual fitness. So I find myself working within an awesome company that one of its main ethos is spiritual fitness, which is exactly where I'm at right now. So.
Yes, spiritual fitness, which has so much more meaning than just having a physical body. It has a personal, that's what I believe keeps people staying fit, like, is because it has a deeper meaning for them that's personal, and that is on a deep level rather than just to fit in with society what they said that they should look like.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, because
it then go on, my darling.
I was going to say, I think that's probably why a lot of people don't stick to working out, is because it doesn't.
Absolutely.
They're just trying to fit in with the mold rather than it having a personal soul, evolution, meaning kind of thing for them. That's what makes me do it, is because I had a deeper reason for it.
Yeah.
Because we're deeper. We're deeper than just our skin.
You know? We really are. And and the connection with the body and the spirit and the heart, like if fitness isn't connected to every aspect, I don't think you're going to follow through on it.
No.
So that's definitely where I've got to on that. It feels it's spiritual now. It's not just fitness, it's spiritual.
And I love that you interpreted my question as like, what does fitness mean for you going forwards, rather than what does it mean for you, like, in general, like how would you, because actually that I think I'm going to do that going forward. I'm just going to say, because what fitness means to us, I do think is always evolving and changing depending on where we're at in our journey and what we need at that time. It's more malleable and more flexible. And so actually I think the question is going to be inspired by you. What does fitness mean for you going forwards in terms of what you need, what your soul is needing at that time? And does that make sense?
It really does.
And being a set thing.
That's the thing that I used to find really tricky as well, because my two biggest core values are freedom and truth.
Mm-hmm.
And fitness used to be a very small box for me. And I'm like, oh, that's so regimented. I can't do that. It's horrible. But if it's an evolving thing and it's about my spiritual growth, that's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, exactly. And then for one kind of interesting, this is because I want to learn about it as well, is about the fascia stuff as a daily. Could that be something somebody could explore as a little daily practice thing? Is there like little, if they were looking to release emotions and kind of explore that side?
Yeah, there's a couple of practices that I use. It's not necessarily fascia, because you need to get your hands on for that. There is some fascia movements you can do, which people could look up as I sit here doing them. It's hilarious. But shake your body. Shake it off. That's an energy mover for me. Belly button therapy, which I love, that's a whole nother show. And clapping for microcirculation and getting your lymph moving. But you can do self-massage as well. And you want to activate your lymph, like for actual deep tissue trauma release work, it's an in-person thing. So, but for general practices, dry skin brushing, that's what I do most mornings, is belly button therapy, clapping, dry skin brushing, and then I will move in some way. And I don't have I can't be methodical in that way. I have to be free to do what I want to do. But some kind of movement, shaking, get some music on.
To get us in our bodies and creating that connection as well as moving. And so you have recorded some videos. Have you posted them in a public place?
Not in no, actually they're in my private group. So thank
Okay.
you for encouraging me to post those publicly.
It'd
That's so
be
cute.
really
I love
wonderful.
that.
Yeah, because then I can just put the links at the bottom. So if people are interested to see what that really means, then they can just have a little click and look.
That's such a lovely encouragement and accountability. And I've actually just set up a new Instagram called Soul Warrior Flow,
Amazing.
which is going to be my more personal Instagram. So Embody Being is there with all of my work stuff, but it's going to be more succinct on that.
Yeah.
And then Soul Warrior Flow is going to be more about me personally, what I'm doing, and all of my spiritual practices and stuff. So maybe I'll put them in there.
Yes. So
That
because
might be a
there's,
good place for it.
yeah, I think if somebody's listening and they love the way that you explain things and feel some resonance with you, it could be really nice to kind of go and have a look at what you're doing and kind of
Great.
start to learn from you.
Thank you,
Considering.
sweetheart. That's such a good accountability prod. I love it. Thank you. It's normally me doing that to other people.
Yeah. Well, it was a genuine, yeah, genuine interest because I kind of looked at, I know that things like yin is a similar concept in terms of yin, you stretch into the fascia to release the emotion. So this is
My
probably
goodness,
a similar thing.
absolutely. Yins are great. I mean, I've been to one yoga class since I've been in Phuket, and it was yin, drove me insane. Because my nervous system was all busy from the travel and all. It was
Yeah,
exactly what I needed.
yeah,
And I was so grateful for the agitation that I was
yeah.
feeling, if you like. But yeah, yin's a great way of doing it. There's so many ways you can do it.
But we'll have a
And
look at your videos.
yes, all right, I will post the videos. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for talking. I think that's been like an hour and 10 so far, so that's
That's amazing.
amazing amount. And yeah, we've talked about the balance of the feminine and masculine energy and how
Yeah.
important that is, why what healing really means, and why there's no one size that fits all, what self-love really is, and why that's important. So I would say that, yeah, it's been really lovely speaking with
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alice. It's been so good.
you. And I will put all of your information somewhere below so that people can have a little look at you.
You're a superstar. Thank you, darling.
Thank you, Sam, and I will.
Thank you, love. Okay, bye.